It's PopQuizzical, tonight with your host, Mr. Bob Ball! Yay! It's time to ask the questions, sharpen your pencils right. It's time to have a test of PopQuizzical tonight.
It's time to guess your answers. Show us you are so right. It's time to start the show on PopQuizzical tonight.
Indeed, welcome friends, monsters, and Muppets to an all-new PopQuizzical. This time we're talking about the one, the only, the original Muppet Show. Jim Henson and his crew wove an amazing group of felt and foam into the fabric of not just where you are, but into the world. Tonight we talk about the Muppet Show on an all-new PopQuizzical. Take it away, guys. This is what we call PopQuizzical.
Oh, greetings ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zeppelin, and I want to welcome you to PopQuizzical, a bi-weekly Q&A on topics you want to know more about, or maybe that you should have paid more attention to in school. Not only will today's topic make you sound smarter at your next dinner party, but could even save your life. Well, maybe if you're in a street fight with the game show host. And now, your host for PopQuizzical and swell guy, Mr. Bob Ball.
Thank you, Zeppelin, and welcome to PopQuizzical, the internet's favorite pop quiz show. I'm your host, voice actor Bob Ball. This week I've got 6 questions about a show that's dear in the heart of millions, including even my tiny black heart. Sharpen those pencils and keep those eyes on your own Kermit-colored paper, because today's Muppet Show PopQuizzical starts now.
So it's time once again, friends. Time once again to raise the intellectual level of our program.
And question 1. Which of these stars was on the original run of The Muppet Show more than anybody else? Was it A, Burt Reynolds? Was it B, Arlo Guthrie? Was it C, John Cleese? Or D, none of the above?
Welcome again to Muppet Labs, where the future is being made today. And here it is, folks, the product you've all been waiting for. The new solid-state gorilla detector. Yes, friends, how many times have you awakened at night in the dark and said to yourself, is there a gorilla in here?
Question 2. Which American television channel produced and aired The Muppet Show? A, NBC, B, ABC, C, CBS, or D, none of the above?
Hey, let's boogie!
Okay.
Boogie!
Question 3. On one episode of The Muppet Show, Miss Piggy attempts to make Kermit jealous and refers to her real name as Pigathius. What does she claim Pigathius means? Did she say A, it meant the sow of your dreams? Did she say B, it meant river of passion? Was it C, the sweetest swine? Or D, none of the above?
Come on, you guys. I come out here just to give you a good time.
If you want to give us a good time,
Go back in.
Come on, give me a...
Question 34. Fill in this blank. The interesting thing about the Swedish chef's hands is that they are blank. Question 5. Some of your favorite Muppet characters are voiced by a single Muppeteer. For example, legendary Frank Oz voices Sam the Eagle and Miss Piggy. If those two Muppets are in the same skit, how are they voiced and operated? A, Frank Oz would voice them both at different times and then have the skit edited together afterwards. B, Frank would have voiced the one with the more comedic responsibility and let somebody else voice and operate the other puppet. Or would C, the writers carefully craft scenes so as not to include multiple Muppets from the same performer?
Piggy is probably the most difficult of all my characters, in part because the voice it's a strain, but more than that, Piggy really comes from pain to me. The other characters I can kind of play around with. Piggy, I have to reach deep down to that feminine part of myself.
Question 6. The skit based around the song Mana Mana is one of the most memorable from The Muppet Show. But do you know where that song originated? Was it A, written by Jim Henson and originally performed on The Ed Sullivan Show? Was it B, written by Piero Umiliani for an Italian documentary? Was it C, written by Jim Henson's wife Jane and performed on Sesame Street? Or was it D, none of the above?
I think I ought to see a doctor.
Oh, why do you say that?
I'm beginning to like the show.
This interlude between questions and answers is brought to you by Muppet brand deodorant. Because if you have your hand up a puppet all day, holding your hands above your head while you stare at monitors on the floor, you'll need deodorant eventually. Muppet brand deodorant. Ask for it by name.
Thank you, and welcome again to the Muppet Show, where anything can happen, unfortunately.
Okay, pencils down, trade papers with your neighbor, and let's grade today's Muppet-tastic PopQuizzical.
The concept of taking and designing a show around a guest star each week worked out very nicely. When we were doing the show, each guest would come in and the whole show would change personality.
Question 1. Which star ended up on The Muppet Show more than anybody else? Was it A, Burt Reynolds, B, Arlo Guthrie, C, John Cleese, or D, none of the above? It's a tricky one because D, none of the above is the correct answer. Between 1975 and 1981, the original Muppet Show had 120 episodes, with 119 shows having different hosts. No guest star was on the show as guest host more than once.
Well, I wish they had done that differently.
How would you want them to do it?
Better?
Question 2. Which American network produced and aired The Muppet Show? Was it A, NBC, B, ABC, C, CBS, or D, none of the above? This ended up being a huge miss on the part of all three big networks because the answer is D, none of the above. Jim Henson took the idea to all three networks and they all said, no. So the show was independently produced and distributed from a company in England, where all the filming took place. At the end of 5 seasons, it was estimated that each episode of The Muppet Show was worth $3 million in global sales. Now that'll buy you a lot of felt puppets.
And now, Pigs in Space!
Question 3. On an episode of The Muppet Show, Miss Piggy wants to make Kermit jealous and tells the guest host that her real name is Pigathius. What does she claim that Pigathius means? Was it A, the sow of your dreams, B, river of passion, C, the sweetest swine, or D, none of those? Well, to make Kermit jealous, Miss Piggy tells the guest that her name is Pigathius and means B, river of passion in Greek. Now, there is no support to either 1, her name actually includes Pigathius, or 2, that Pigathius even means river of passion. I mean, it may mean river of pork, which sounds delicious.
Oh, you can call me by my real name, which few men have called me, Pigathius.
Pigathius?
It's from the Greek meaning river of passion.
Here's the dirty question 4. Fill in the blank. The interesting thing about the Swedish chef's little hands is that they are blank. Well, unlike most of the other Muppets, his hands are real human hands. I mean, they're still attached to somebody. Operating the Swedish chef was a 2-person job, with the original operators being Jim Henson and Frank Oz. Jim ran the head, and Frank was the hands. Often being upstagers, they would try to trip each other up by doing things the other would have to keep up with. Even Muppeteers are competitive. Question 5. Some of your favorite Muppet characters are voiced by a single Muppeteer. For example, Frank Oz was Sam the Eagle and Miss Piggy, and a bunch of others. If those two Muppets are in the same skit, how does it all work? A. Frank would voice them both at different times and then have the skit edited together afterwards. B. Frank would have voiced the one with more comedic responsibility and then let somebody else run the other one. Or C. The writers carefully craft the scene so we don't include multiple Muppets from the same performer. Your answer is B. The Muppeteer takes the duties of the character with the most comedic responsibility. Take a listen to this clip of a skit that Sam the Eagle and Miss Piggy are both in, and you might notice that Piggy's voice sounds a little different. That's because it's not Frank Oz. Listen to this.
I fail to see the humor in that.
Oh, I love it! Burst his balloon, honey. He's so poppin'.
Finally, question 6. The skit based around the song Mana Mana. One of the most memorable and one of my favorites. But do you know where that came from? Was it A, written by Jim Henson and originally performed on The Ed Sullivan Show? B, written for an Italian documentary by Piero Umiliani? Was it C, written by Jane Henson, Jim's wife, and performed on Sesame Street? Or D, none of the above? The original song sounded like this. It's a cool and hip 1960s tune, huh? Its nonsensical lyrics were written by C. Piero Umiliani for an Italian documentary entitled Sweden, Heaven and Hell. And since this fun song can seemingly go on forever, I can kind of see both sides of that documentary title.
Well, you gotta give them credit.
Why's that?
Well, they're gonna keep on doing it till they get it right.
It's not where you start, it's where you finish.
So, how'd you do? Muppet Trivia is so much fun. If you can get your hands on Season 1 of the DVDs, while you're watching, you can turn on some informational accompaniments that'll give you a whole lot of insight behind the scenes on that original show. I also put together a link for you so you can experience some Muppet humor on your own. Check it out. It's bit.ly/PQ Muppets. That PQ is for PopQuizzical. So again, it's bit.ly/PQ Muppets. You'll get a little beaker, my personal favorite, and even some mana mana. If you like today's show, why not cruise over to iTunes and leave me a 5-star review and some loving words. You can reach the PopQuizzical staff either via email, that's podcast@popquizzical.com, or we're on the Twitter, @PopQuizzical. We also started a daily quiz just for you and our 2012 resolutions, so you can head on over to the website popquizzical.com and find those daily quizzes. Next week, we'll have a hintcast, a little behind-the-scenes sneak peek at our next full episode of PopQuizzical. And if you think I've said the words PopQuizzical enough, you're right. I'll let Zeppelin say it now.
This has been PopQuizzical. The quiz master, Bob Ball, and I will be back in 2 weeks. Until then, sharpen those pencils and keep your eyes on your own paper. Class dismissed.
All right, Frog, we watched the show.
Yeah, unlock the doors.